Hey guys, coldbrew here. Welcome back to another raid video. Finally, Plarium has listened and they're introducing some much needed changes to the game in terms of, I'm not gonna call it quality of life, but I'm gonna call it just making things a little bit easier for us, because it does make sense. This should have been added from the start. Plus some champion rebalances that are coming to the game, and then mythical champion rebalance as well, because he really needed it. So let's get started. Great Hall bonuses, not the affinity bonuses, but live arena bonuses, area bonuses will be added, additional ones to the game. So what are they adding? Well, they're going to be adding whatever else was missing and whatever else players needed to focus on. So nobody should be focusing on potion keeps. We all know that. Ice Golem Speak, I would say this is kind of okay if you're somebody who's struggling to push for hard mode 10. But everything else feels like it's a necessity, like Fire Knight. A little bit of Spider is great. I'm on the free-to-play account right now, so you can't see the main account. But Hydra battles, it's very crucial for endgame stuff, especially if you're trying to compete in Hydra Clash. And then Demon Lord is also important if you're trying to get to that one key territory. Once you have that, then the Demon Lord loses all appeal in terms of the upgrades, if we're being honest. So obviously, what am I saying? They're adding everything else. So what is missing? We have Iron Fortress missing from there. We have the Sand Devil missing, Phantom Shogun, Faction Wars. Okay, Faction Wars is also missing from there. And then we also have Doom Tower and Cursed City. So all of these areas will be added to the game in terms of live arena area bonuses. Yeah, I said it right this time. So I feel like this will be very crucial for everybody's improvement in those areas. I would say that the beginner players will be focusing more their upgrades towards, I would say, Iron Twins, more so than Sand Devil and Phantom Shogun. These two areas, although they do require lots of accuracy and speed and all that, once you have a team rolling, you're good to go. And these have been done with so many different teams so far that it's kind of okay not to focus on them, on upgrading them. Iron Twins is a little bit more difficult, especially because the boss can actually hit pretty hard. So if you don't have specific champions, you kind of need to be a little bit tanky. But I guess it's the same thing for Sand Devil and Phantom Shogun. In terms of how much you'll be farming them, it really depends on how much energy you got to burn for these two. And then Iron Twins is basically 6 a day, plus if you want to be doing the refreshes every day. So it's not content that you're gonna go crazy about. Then we have Faction Wars, which I believe this wasn't really needed. You don't really need Faction Wars and upgrades in there, but it will make your Faction Wars clearing speeds faster, especially if you improve on ignore defense for your account. I think that's gonna help make your runs quicker. And if you're somebody who's struggling to get the accuracy or resistance for some of these, that's going to help you a ton. Are they going to be adding more stages to these to make them, you know, a little bit more difficult now that we have live the live area bonuses? We might actually get it. I can totally see it, since Faction Wars is a 2019 content, right? This was added as soon as possible in terms of the global launch of the game. It was added before the end of the year on the global launch of the game, which was 2019. So Faction Wars could get, and you know, maybe stage 25 stage. How would they jump up in difficulty? I would say 25 would be the highest they would go, but still, even with that, I personally wouldn't be investing in those. Then we have Doom Tower, which again, I don't think it's really worth the investment because live arena does take a lot of time. I would say Cursed City, for the majority of late to end game players, is where they will be just throwing all their crests after they feel like they're done with Hydra. Why they will be doing this? Well, it's very easy to understand that these rewards here from every one of the bosses are so important that it changes your account in terms of getting the Merciless and Supersonic gear set, plus all of the rewards, which slowly but surely they count up. You know, if you clear 200 stages every month, which is the maximum, 200 stages plus 2 of the Emu's bosses, you'll be getting a ton of rewards. And Merciless can be useful at 5 stars, especially for more late game accounts. The end game accounts can use maybe mythical 5 stars, maybe legendary 5 stars as well, but they wouldn't use the epics. And even if it's a merciless set, that they wouldn't get the 9-piece bonus, but they would use accessories which you get from Amius, right? And then for the hard difficulty, obviously chasing this guy Carnage, it will make it a little bit easier when you're just shoving points in live area bonuses. You're gonna go with ignore defense just so that your epics hit harder. You're gonna go with critical damage, again, more damage. You're gonna go with speed. You're gonna go with accuracy, resistance, all the good stuff. Honestly, all of the stats there will be important, even attack, which usually is the last one we upgrade, okay? Because that is just only damage, no survivability, nothing. So in terms of that, I think it's an amazing update. I'm not sure exactly when this will be coming. I hopefully as soon as possible, but what I will be doing is I'll be just saving every single one of the crests that I'll be getting. Okay, on the free to play, I don't get that many and I don't have the time to play as much, but I still feel like I can push maybe some of these stats here. I don't think any of the new live area bonuses that will be added will be upgraded by me. I don't think so, especially Cursed City. It's no goal for me right now on this account. In terms of the costs, we don't know exactly. They didn't share that with us, but it will be different grades for all the areas that they've added. I'm guessing grade 3 will be Cintranos, grade 2 will be Phantom Shogun and Sand Devil, maybe even Iron Twins. And then Faction Wars Doom Tower probably gonna be grade 1. Hopefully gonna be grade 1, because I don't think they deserve to be grade 2 and have everything in grade 2. Something needs to be in grade 1 just so it's extremely cheaper to upgrade with 25, 75, 150, and then goes all the way to 500 for the level 1, which I don't really see the use here. The grind you gotta do to get all these crests is a lot, and especially because we do not get any crests for failed runs, all right, here for not failed runs, failed battles, the battles you lose. Well, you gotta invest a ton of time to get everything upgraded, which is very, very unlikely by many of the players out there. So what is the next part of the video? The next part of the video is the champion rebalancing that is coming. And the first champion that they will be rebalancing is Little Miss Annie. I'm very hopeful for this one because I do have her on the main account. So she does have a single target Pretty Nails attack. Attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 50% chance of placing 100% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns. So what is happening to this one? Well, what they are saying as a little bit of an introduction, they will make her a more reliable single target nuker for Arena. They're going to be removing the conditionals on both her A2 and A3 to make her kit more consistent and reliable. But also they'll add the possibility to self-buff with a revive on death. Okay, that's pretty cool. So her A1, which I've just started, will also be applying a decreased defense debuff. I guess that's okay, adding a decreased defense here. The problem is with Sheep, we all have that issue, and giving her accuracy here just to land her debuffs seems kind of bad, but I could see her usage in Cintranos with a decreased defense and heal reduction on Amius. Unlike the boss, she could be very useful for there. Then her A2 Hollow Doll. So let's have a look at that one. This one attacks one enemy 2 times. Increase attack buff on this champion for 2 turns before attacking. If the target is under a shield buff, will ignore 25% of the target's defense if the target is under a shield buff. So how does this change here? So before attacking, she'll place the increased attack buff, and then she'll be ignoring 25% of the target's defense. There's no conditional here, so that's fantastic actually. She'll be pretty good for ignoring 25% of the target's defense. Very nice. And then on her playdate, which is her A3, attacks one enemy, will ignore 25% of the target's defense, and then destroys the target's max HP as well. And also places a revive on this champion for 2 turns if this attack kills an enemy. Yeah, that was expected. Will repeat the attack if the target has both higher defense and higher max HP than this champion. Pretty cool. So so she'll become much stronger now with the conditionals gone. And she'll be able to also decrease turn meter by 10% on her passive. On enemies, on this passive right here, I believe. Yeah, on this passive right here, we'll be decreasing it by 10% and destroying max HP by 10% instead. So pretty cool changes coming into Little Miss Annie. I can't wait to actually test them when it's live. Then we have a buff to Supreme Aethel. That is very surprising. Buff to Supreme Aethel. Let's go and have a look at her. I feel like Supreme Aethel needed that buff, especially because she's a Supreme version of the, well, she's like an Ultimate Aethel. I would prefer that name, like as the final version of them, the legendary ones. Maybe we'll get mythic ones in the future, maybe next year. I don't know. Anyway, her Exemplar of Stoicism will be her A1, which will get its damage increased. The A2 will also get its damage increased, and she'll be able to apply the freeze before attacking. So this part here where she ignores strengthen, ally protection, and unkillables will be very important, because she'll be able to freeze them before attacking with this one. And not only that, but also damage boost to her multiplier. But this is huge, because ignoring strengthen, ally protection, and killable is a very much needed skill. So very cool, very cool that they're doing this. I think it's just gonna skyrocket her usefulness. And then what are they changing? As well as 20% of the target's defense. Oh, come on. Now she becomes extremely good, because you know, freeze, if you guys didn't know, when you do apply a freeze, the champions take 75% of incoming damage, so they don't take 100%. It's like a damage mitigation for them, for the frozen champions. It's weird, but that's how it works. So also ignoring 20% of the defense actually mitigates a little bit of that, which is kind of cool. And then her Ever Faithful skill places a 50% increase attack buff, crit rate, a shield buff, and a 50% increase accuracy buff on this champion, and then grants an extra turn. Okay, so she'll also get an increased accuracy. That's gonna help her land the freeze. That's very nice. And not only boosting her own crit rate, yeah, she's gonna become a great void to have. Actually, anybody who has her will be much happier with this change. And then Siegfried. All right, let's have a look at what's happening to Siegfried. He was the first legendary the first mythical that I noticed when they added all the mythicals. We had time to play test them, and he was so cool. He was so cool in action, but the only thing you could really do with him was the way that his abilities on his other form, you could basically farm Nightmare. That was it. You could farm Nightmare Campaign with him. That was it. Nothing too much, right? So now he's getting, on his main form, he's getting damage boost on all of his skills. And then on his third skill on the main form, he'll also ignore 50% of the target's defense. So what does that mean? This is not his main form. This is his main form. So this gets a damage boost, double hitting. This is an AoE damage boost. This will also get a damage boost plus ignore 50% of the target's defense. This is huge because it does a surplus damage to enemies with when any target is killed. So this is pretty cool, and it's not limited by other stuff. So he's gonna be similar in that sense to how Baron's A1 works. Will attack all remaining enemies with any surplus damage, and how same thing basically with Sun Wukong's A2, which ignores defense, attacks one enemy, and then attacks for the surplus damage. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool, but he won't have any limitation to how Wukong has. So he's probably gonna be bursting for a lot of damage with that skill. And then his passive will be a block damage buff for 2 turns. That makes absolute sense. This passive right here, if this champion is about to get killed by a fatal hit, blocks incoming damage and places a block damage buff for 1 turn. This was so stupid. I'll explain to you guys why. Because you would get the block damage buff, he'll heal, get the turn meter, so he would lose the block damage, and then he would immediately transform to his other form, which is very stupid, because you would basically lose the block damage, and if the enemies had a way to attack you, you would be dead. And his other form is like the support version, and the support version can revive your allies. So it didn't make much sense the way that his kit was. These are things we noticed on day one, not even day one, test server, not even day one of him being live, but you know, Plarium is kind of slow. So yeah, pretty cool. And let's have a look at the alternate form change that he does. Let's see, the revive that he does will now also add something very interesting. Revives all dead allies with 50% health, 50% turn meter, then places a block damage buff on all allies except this champion. Well, no longer. He'll add the block damage to everybody, including this champion. So that is going to be very strong, and the block damage will be a 2-turn buff. So he's going to be very interesting in arena. He's going to be both a nuker and a big support. Big support. Decreases damage from skills. Yeah, pretty cool form. So I think people will not be dissatisfied if they do happen to get Siegfried. These are the patch notes. I love these kind of changes. These are much needed changes. We need to get more than 3 champions every month, guys. I feel like when you have 850 champions in a game, you gotta get at least 5 champions a month, right? Because in a year, what are you changing? 60 champions? No, you need to be ever changing things, making things more relevant depending on what other champions you're releasing. You gotta be active if you want to get your community to remain active and remain interested in the game. But this was the video, guys. What do you think? I'm totally excited about this patch. I do have Leo Messani, don't have the other two, and I do want to work on now on the area bonuses and work on the Cintranos for sure. Let me know, guys, what you think down below, and what you would want to see maybe in another future video or in raid. Thank you all, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.